And throughout the 3 days, Jesus is not only teaching, but he is healing. The blind are really seeing, the lame are walking, the mute are talking. And we know that mixed in these healings are those who are being set free from all kinds of physical maladies and spiritual possessions. People are listening, they are celebrating, they are awakening faith, they are deepening belief. Apparently, it was so powerful that very few, if any, in the crowd or among the disciples are noticing that most of the people are running out of food they would have packed for the journeys they never expected to last this long. Jesus notices it. And the scriptures want us to know for sure that Jesus notices it because of his compassion. That's what the text says. It's not a time issue. It's not really a supply issue. It's not a logistics issue. It's not really a work-related demand. He really does have a heart for the people. And might I announce to us that Jesus really does have a heart for us too. The Lord emotes us as much as he redeems us. He really does care about what concerns us. And Jesus' compassion is stirred because he knows the journey is now too long to let those in this crowd make their way home without eating, because they may very well faint along the way. While many who study scripture have tried to suggest that this particular episode is the exact same story that we read when the setting numbered the crowd around 5,000 and the implied time frame was just one long day in which Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fish and fed the multitude. But might I suggest to us, Mount Ararat, that it is crystal clear to me that this setting is totally different, while the intricacies seem to be repetitive. There's no grass upon which to comfortably lie in this setting. The supply this time is 7 cakes and a few small fish, not 5 loaves and 2 fish. The crowd here is 4,000. In the other episode, 5,000, and the leftovers are not filling 12 baskets, as is the case in the other episode. This time, only 7 basketfuls of fragments remain. What is strange is that with all the disclosure God intends for his people and so little time within these 3 short years of public ministry and witness, why give us this repetitive kind of narrative? We've seen crowds fed before and the supply multiplied. We have seen peril abated and hunger addressed. We have seen the fainting avoided. We've witnessed Jesus' compassion in response to the hunger created from an elongated day of teaching. So why repeat such a similar narrative? We see this in the Gospels, for example, with the Beatitudes, the Lord's Prayer, the parable of the lost sheep. And it's almost as if God is teaching that repetition is powerful for us learning about him, about us, and about God's purposes in and for our lives. Now, I raise this tension this weekend, brothers and sisters, because I have sometimes wondered. I've also counseled many who struggle with the repeated experiences of life, the things that seem to keep happening, the hurts that keep resurfacing from certain toxic interactions, the haunting thoughts that follow us no matter how elevated our positions in life, the cycles we thought we had broken, the decisions we keep making, and the resulting stresses and strains that often come from them. And when you follow Jesus, you wonder in faith all the more why God heals some things and lets others repeat themselves over and over again. Why does God bring total resolve to some things while letting other things keep revisiting us spontaneously within seasons? Why are certain disciplines easy to develop and feed and maintenance and sustain? And why is it that other disciplines, it appears, we keep falling and failing and finding ourselves in repeated patterns of human behavior? We are some of the most relational people, but the question becomes, why are some relationships so easy to adjust or to renegotiate and to sever if necessary? And then why are there others where time nor space, hurt or anger can't seem to ever make it go away? What is the spiritual value of experiential repetitions? What is God perhaps trying to teach us when the viruses keep mutating and the deaths keep occurring and the injustices keep being perpetrated? When we keep hurting ourselves by the same decisions we won't decide to change? What is God trying to teach us when we know we should say or do something or how we should respond, but every time we make the opposite decision and say the very thing we didn't intend to say? And just like this text, there are times when Jesus lets us experience again what we have already experienced, because the power was not in the miracle of multiplying bread and fish, though make no mistake about it, that is a miracle. The power and the grace, the spiritual benefit and the chance to grow our faith was embedded in letting us repeat certain experiences over and over again so that we don't miss the additional revelations that are there related to our lives and journey. Two identical miracle stories of multitudes fed. Similar context, similar conversational exchange, repeat multiplication, fragments collected, crowds impacted. Check both of them. Feeding of the 5,000, feeding of the 4,000. It is the same. Similar context, similar conversational exchange, repeat multiplication, fragments collected, crowds impacted. But oh, the Lord intends more with this repeat occurrence, and He certainly intends more when He lets you and I repeat cycles and circumstances and conversations and conditions as we have experienced before. I guess I should quickly say and emphatically declare that you and I don't repeat anything in life. Pain, hurt, conditions, encounters, altercations, traumas, successes, victories, enlightenments, disappointments, or joys that have no spiritual meaning. I'll say it again. We don't ever go through repetitive experiences where God vests no spiritual meaning within them. If they are happening over and over again, I want to guarantee you that God is attaching spiritual meaning to it. He attaches purpose to it. So don't let the struggle of it nor the familiarity with it make you either ignore it or take it for granted. I know it's not easy to have an expectation that the pain of the last cycle might be the pain that greets me in the current cycle. I know that the struggle of last season, if I have to repeat that this season, I'm not sure I have the energy or the stamina or the faith or the spiritual intestinal fortitude. But I'm trying to suggest to you that God sometimes allows repetitive experiences and conditions and interactions and altercations and thoughts and experiences. Why? Because they have vested interest for who He is shaping you to be. What is the text teaching us? Maybe this text is teaching us to acknowledge growth, or to admit what was missed, or to maximize the growth, or to really heal from the brokenness. Or maybe God is trying to let you see that you've stowed away what He told you to bury permanently. or you brought into your proximity what he intended for you to bring into your life more intimately. Maybe it's repeating because you gave what was necessary for others to be okay, to feel secure, but you didn't get anything for yourself. Or you focused so much on yourself that you didn't get the opportunity in it that was intended for others. Are you listening to me? Maybe it repeats because you nursed the anger but ignored the mercy. You gave the condemnation but held back on the forgiveness. Maybe you handled your business but you didn't forgive yourself. You covered the debt but never settled your internal conflict. I don't know, but the disciples are standing there with a choice. We can respond this time like we did last time, or we can live like we have been impacted by this before and let it change how we respond to it now. Come here for a minute. I really feel like this after an entire week of celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King and listening to the issues that fueled the power of the civil rights movement, and feeling like you really could have lifted the LP from the 60s, formatted digitally right now, play it, and the lyrics and the sound would be just the same. Seemingly describing 2022's reality. And I'm in this mental space these days where I keep asking myself, after all of this identification of hunger and the distance for these people to get home and the potential peril of turning them away, what is the win for us, Jesus? Race and economics, gender and politics, it all repeats itself cyclically. It seems like generation after generation, and the question is why? And could the response be it repeats itself because there are versions of us that are yet to be formed, yet to be framed, that need incremental discoveries to speak louder than the shock and pain that went with the last time we faced and confronted the same thing. Might I pause parenthetically to suggest to you that I don't care your age, I don't care your stage, I don't care your spiritual maturation, I don't care what you're still fighting in your life. Can I tell you, you are not yet the best version of yourself? That there are versions of you that God still has in his imagination. And it explains why he allows some of these experiential repetitions. He lets you go back through some things because it's going to aid in helping to mature you to be a better version of yourself. I can tell you, I don't respond to certain things now like I did before.